Shambhu. I just come out of a Vipassana meditation retreat, which is a 10-day silent retreat in which you receive the technique that was offered by the Buddha, Gautama, and that then went to Burma and was restored there for I think 2,500 years. It was kept there in its original purity, and then it came back to India, and now it has spread out over the whole world, specifically by the efforts of Guenka, an enlightened master who teaches this practice. And in this course we received transmissions of his teachings in video and also in audio, and we sat for meditation 10 hours per day, or 10 and a half even, and it was an incredible experience. And I will do my best to talk about this and give you a taste of it, so that you will understand the value of it and what it could mean to your life to go and do a Vipassana, to go and learn this technique. And I feel that if I apply this in my own life, it will be life-changing. It already is. So what exactly is this technique? Well, it starts with Anapana, which is observation of breath. And for 3 days in a row, you observe the breath coming in and out, and you specifically observe the sensations that it causes around this area of your nose. And then the area narrows down, so on the 3rd day or the 4th day, you also do a half day on the 4th day, you just observe like a tiny triangle just below the nose, and you observe how it feels that the breath comes in and out at first, and then also any other sensation that arises in this area. So it could be heat or tingling or just small biochemical processes happening that you can feel because your awareness has grown so penetrating and sharp that everything that you've been focusing on here becomes super, super clear. And then you move into the actual Vipassana, so the technique that uncovers all the hidden layers of your subconscious mind. And it's a super interesting technique, which in itself gives so much insight into how things work, beyond the insight it gives into how you specifically as a mind work. So the technique is a sort of body scan, where you go from the top of your head to your toes, and you start observing all the sensations that are present, first in specific areas. You take a piece of your head and your skin, and on the surface level you go over the whole body. And then as it progresses, and your mind gets sharper and the sensations become more palpable, and also just become more and more because you keep on giving attention to all the sensations in your body, you can start scanning in a more flowing way, and you just skim through the body, like up and down the whole time. How does this relate to the subconscious part of the mind? Well, that was one of the most interesting things that this Vipassana taught me, is that what we call unconscious or subconscious mind actually exists on the level of the body. So you have sensations all the time. And everything that is happening within the framework of your body, within the sphere of the body, can be felt if you give it enough attention and if your mind is sharp enough to sense and feel it. So in daily life, we only have gross sensations of the body, and also there's a lot of thought process going on that distracts us from paying attention to these sensations. So that thought process that is going on is the so-called conscious mind. And the unconscious or the subconscious is the mind that is constantly responding to all the sensations that are happening in the body. So even if you're not aware of it, there is awareness of it, and there is also response to this. So the more and more you sit for meditation and you do these kind of body scans, the more you first uncover of what actually is happening there and all the sensations that are present. Train is coming, let me pause. So you have these sensations throughout the body and even within the body. So not only on the surface level, but everywhere. Constantly things are happening. And the more you pay attention to it, the more you become aware of it, and the more you feel it. At some point, if your focus evolves, it becomes so subtle and so small that it feels like physicality just becomes an entirely different experience, and you can really feel that it is vibration, and you can feel it tingling everywhere, and just being patterns that constantly change. So there's this, I don't have the words for it actually. But you can feel it, you can try it with one finger or one hand. If you just focus on one finger, or let's say a hand, I think it's easier. If you focus on your hand and you focus your intention there for long enough, just every time you get distracted, you come back to how the hand feels. So it's not like you're not observing from the perspective of your mind, but you really put your awareness in there and you just ask yourself, okay, how's this hand feeling? And then from within the hand you feel. So it means the consciousness that is in the hand activates. Then it feels like an activation, it feels like it comes alive. And you suddenly feel all the life that is happening in your hand. Like everything, the bones and the blood and whatever. You can't always feel that specifically maybe, but you feel the life that is present there. And it's vibrant and it's full and it's a lot. And so that starts happening to the whole body, where you just feel the energy of it buzzing, and with your attention moving through, you get this feeling of a flow. Like Guenka described it, if you drop a drop of ink in a bucket of water, it just spreads naturally to all the corners. And that's how it feels when you move your attention through a body in which you have activated the awareness of the life or of the sensation that is in there. So how does this all relate to unconscious mind that is constantly responding to this? You think you are responding to outside objects, to the world. You have thoughts about things in the world, you have emotions about things in the world. Everything that you create within yourself, your life experience, seems to be in relation to the outside world, but actually it isn't. It is in relation to the sensations in your body. So everything that is going on within you, whether you have a pleasant life experience or an unpleasant life experience, is something that you create and make larger or do not make larger based on how you respond to the sensations in your body. And this is, as Guenka described it, the big insight of Buddha's teaching that was revolutionary and helps so many people because it brings such clarity into the spiritual process. And when it is said that you shouldn't respond to anything with craving or aversion, things can get confusing. Like what does it mean to remain equanimous in a situation? In order to understand this, you also have to understand that your equanimity is in relation to the sensations in your body, not in relation to anything that is happening outside. So during this course and during the process of scanning the body, you can have very, very unpleasant sensations and very pleasant sensations. And you also learn how to observe, or you just become aware because you're constantly focusing and refocusing of how your mind responds to them. So something pleasant is happening and you want to stay in there. There was one instant where I had a very nice flow and my entire body was dissolving, and I just quit doing the practice because you want to just stay in that feeling. So that's a form of craving, for example, where you have something and it makes you feel good and therefore you want more of it, and you're not able to see that any and every sensation that you could ever had is changing and passing, and that's just the way it is. And that there is no point to holding on to it. And in fact, when you start craving something, that pattern of your mind to want to hold on to something so badly and want to keep a specific experience of specific sensations in the body is what creates suffering. So whenever you're experiencing pleasantness, your mind goes, oh, this is how I got it, food or sexual pleasure or whatever outside object, and it wants to stay in there. So it starts seeking it and repetitively searches for something to cause pleasant experiences again. Likewise, on the other hand, we have a lot of aversions towards unpleasant experiences or sensations in the body. And this unpleasantness has a response in the mind, or there is a habit of responding, a pattern of responding to it with aversion. So that means thoughts and emotions that go against this sensation, that try to escape it, that try to push it away, that think about ways of how to not have this sensation. So, for example, you're sitting and there comes a cramp in your leg and it's really torturing you, and all you can think about all the time is how you want to move your leg, or how you want this sensation to go, or how you want to be somewhere else and not doing this meditative practice because it never works for me, and blah blah blah. So you get on this train of thought that takes you somewhere else than where you are, and you suffer because of it. And you generate a lot of negativity in your own mind, a lot of anger, hatred, fear, whatever. So it's a bit tricky. You first have to figure out what is it that I'm experiencing and what is it that I'm creating myself. And there's not a lot of difference between those two things. I don't even know if there actually is a difference. So maybe this part of the whole practice I shouldn't talk about because I don't understand it. But it is clear that once something happens inside of you on the level of sensation, and you start perceiving of it as something negative and unwanted, that it multiplies itself. So you have a thought of not wanting this, and then an emotion of not wanting this comes, and then maybe you have a thought of, oh, I shouldn't not want this because I'm doing a practice where I am trying to remain equanimous. And like this, you just stir up things in yourself that are unpleasant, that are even more unpleasant than what already was unpleasant to you. So what you do in this practice is train equanimity, basically. And there is no real way of training this except for just sitting with your eyes closed and observing the sensations. The training of equanimity doesn't really happen at a mind level, although sometimes thoughts can help. But it's more about just experiencing it and being with it and keeping your attention and awareness there. Because the more you do this, the more that the nature of these sensations itself starts to show. And the nature of these sensations is that they pass away. Nothing is here to stay. So the mind becomes more calm when it starts understanding this. Another train announcement, let me pause. And not only the conscious mind, so the thinking and feeling, emoting mind that you're aware of all the time, but also the unconscious or subconscious mind, which is aware of everything at the body level all the time. Both of these minds, which of course are interrelated and are just like fragments on the same spectrum, train announcement. So both of these minds, or the mind and both of these aspects of it, they train equanimity, and they just by themselves, by staying there in that observation, in your free will, learn how to not respond and how to not create more negativity when there is an unpleasant experience, and how to not create craving when there is a pleasant experience. So they just become equanimous, like everything's equal with whatever experience that you're having. And this is something that I think all spiritual teachers in some way are expressing, but the clarity in which it was brought by the Buddha is something that really speaks to me, and that I'm deeply grateful for, that I encountered and that I will put to use. This technique is just so straight and simple, and you know that you will evolve. It's very clear, even over the course of 10 days, what happens, the transformation of your mind that happens, and the balance and the lightness that you start feeling is incredible. And you understand that if you apply this and then a few other things that I'll talk about later, liberation is the end of it. Just period. No doubt about that. And this has really set my heart free in a way that I didn't know was possible. Because I didn't understand this body-mind relation and the importance of sensations and observing sensations. And sometimes spiritual process can be very overwhelming and very painful. And things come up. All the patterns of your mind, all the impurities, all the things that you have ever repressed come up in the spiritual process because you give them space. And such unpleasant experiences are sometimes very hard to handle, or at least for me. I know that the tension, there's one specific kind of tension that I experience when I put on Rudraksha. And any other spiritual tool, any material that I use and come in contact with and feel the energies of is helpful to me and is bearable to me. It is something that I feel and it can cause discomfort or comfort, but I know how to give it time to enter me and then do whatever it needs to do. But sometimes Rudraksha, especially if there's more, I now have a necklace of 5 Isha Sadguru consecrated Rudraksha, and when I put this on, just a panic attack starts in my body. And before this Vipassana, I tried to wear it all the time, and then I sometimes just took it off because it got too much. And I also wasn't so clear on whether it was this thing causing it or not, because I was doing so many things and practices and trying to generate energy from everywhere, so it would just feel like I was having a panic attack, and my whole body would get so tense and as if it was being completely torn apart. And I was not ready for that. And so now the understanding has come that liberation requires for me to be equanimous with that also, with whatever sensation is occurring in my body, and that I actually have the choice and the capability of choosing to be with it. And this choice is not something that I can do like this or make like this, but it's a choice that is growing. It's actually the choice of the spiritual path. And every time I choose to be with my sensations, however they are, and then see what happens, there's really nothing more with it, but when I choose to observe sensations, feel them, whether they be pleasant or unpleasant, doesn't matter. Whether my mind gets tormented or not, doesn't matter. Whether I'm distracted or not, doesn't matter. I just stay seated and I return my attention to the sensations. Then automatically a strong evolution happens. So this Vipassana has made me very hopeful, and it has given me clarity as to how to proceed. What it is also about is about eradicating the impurities of the mind. So this habit pattern that we have of responding to our sensations unconsciously is what is called impurity. And it means that as you move through the world and situations happen and unpleasant sensations are caused within yourself, things happen suddenly without you being aware of them, and thus without you having a choice. And Sadhguru also talks about this, but in different ways, and he has this phrase of, my responsibility is limitless. That means that I'm able to respond limitlessly. My ability to respond is limitless. And for me, that points to the same thing, where whatever is going on inside of me, I become aware of it. And awareness is choice, or awareness is liberation, because awareness changes things. And as it is unconscious, whatever sensation happens in me might cause anger or fear or torment, despair, whatever thing that is unpleasant. And then this will grow like a snowball, and it will accumulate more and more negativity, and I will also act this out on others in the world. So that's an impurity of the mind. There's something hidden beneath the conscious layer of the mind. Something is hidden and is impure, and it is constantly influencing you and the rest of this world. And it creates misery for yourself and for everyone around. And everyone who is not enlightened is miserable. They might not admit it, and once you start admitting it, it means you have started walking the path. But there is so much misery inside of yourself that is at play because you are unconscious of it. So when you choose to observe the sensations and you just remain equanimous, meaning that you don't create more negativity or craving, no craving or aversion, but you just watch them. By means of your awareness, slowly they will dissipate, or not even by means of your awareness, but just by means of their own nature. These unpleasant sensations will at a certain point pass, and then new things comes up, because you have given space to all the things that you were repressing, all the things that you were unconscious of. Suddenly they can come up because you have chosen to be aware of your body. They call these sankharas. So suddenly a new wave of gross, uncomfortable emotions, thoughts, sensations can be present, and it can come from the past, even past lives. It is everything that you haven't been willing to be conscious of since the very moment that you came into this existence. So it's literally everything. And for example, in my case, on the 6th day of the Vipassana, my period started, and the evening before, I had connected to my womb consciously and tried to feel the sensations in there also. And I had also had a little talk with my womb, inviting it to release everything with this period that stood in the way of my enlightenment. And so on the 6th day, the day after that, there was a very strong meditation. And by strong, I mean intense. I was sitting with my sensations, and it felt like the building of my body was shaking and trembling, like they were trying to push the walls apart, and energy was moving everywhere in very uncomfortable ways. And I could barely sit still because it was so unnerving. But I sat still and I just observed. And then during the break, it passed away. And then at some point, I got nauseous and my period became very, very, very painful. And I fainted in the bathroom. I had diarrhea. I was like, my body was completely disoriented and disorganized. So I fainted because of the painful cramps and because of my blood pressure dropping. And for an hour on, I had the most painful cramps of my whole life. And my womb was literally just emptying itself out. Like someone had taken a hammer and was just smashing the walls. And everything just... all the unpleasant experiences that this space was holding, all the sensations that I had apparently chosen to repress, just rose to the surface. And it was pure terror. And it was the only moment in this silent retreat where I was really screaming like a crazy woman. And I was lying on the floor and someone got me a blanket and a warm water bottle. And I just screamed for an hour. It wasn't that bad, but it was. And a few moments during this hour, I could observe my respiration. We had been doing Anapana for 3.5 days, so your focus becomes really strong. And my mind would just be there with my respiration only. And these moments were so peaceful, even with those terrible pains inside of myself. And it made me understand that a human being can handle anything, basically. With enough training in equanimity, you can pretty much handle anything. So I was talking about sankaras, things coming up that you have repressed, even packages from past lives if you dig deeper and deeper and you allow things to come up. When you just observe them and you don't repress them and you don't create anything new about them, no craving, no aversion, then after a time they just dissolve. As any sensation is meant to do. They just dissolve. And they leave you forever. And so the pattern that was installed inside of you of constantly repressing this unpleasant sensation with more negativity, or a pleasant sensation with craving, this pattern is gone and you are purified. So they call this process the purification of the mind. So if you do this for 10 days, it actually feels like you get purified, both on a physical level and on a mental level and an emotional level. So many things come up and come out, and you deal with so much intensity that you just feel like you dropped 10 kilograms of old luggage that you don't need anymore when you walk out of this space. And also you walk out with a tool that you can apply all the time in life. Another thing that was put press on? No, how do you say that? Another thing that was that came out strong in the course was to be patient and persistent and continuous with your practice. So that means you don't get attached to the fruits of your labor. A friend of mine uses this phrase often, and I now understand more what it means. Whatever happens, in terms of your experience, is meant to happen, and it is part of this process of purification of your mind. And you know, if you are doing the practice, and if you stick to your morality, that's another layer that I will talk about later, then you are walking the path in the right direction, and you're just taking steps slowly and slowly. And you don't know when you will arrive, but you will also not create any negativity around not being there. There is no point in that, and that craving is just as senseless as any other one. So surely but slowly, or very quickly, if you practice intensely, you will arrive there. Consistency. You keep on practicing. Daily you have the Vipassana meditations, but also beyond that, just every single moment you remain aware of your body, of the sensations in your body, as specifically as possible. So gross sensations, good, but also the more subtle ones, the more subtle level of the mind, you should remain aware of, if you can. And if you can't, then you try to remain aware of the breath coming in and out, because this is your anchor in this reality of the body-mind structure. If you're only in the conscious mind, in the thoughts and emotions, then it feels, the illusion is that you are responding to the outside. If you're anchored in the body all the time and in the sensations all the time, then an aspect of your mind is constantly brought into the conscious mind that used to be subconscious. So you kind of put an anchor down into what is called the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, where everything is happening and where the truth of your experience is revealed and the truth of how this body-mind thing works is revealed. So it's like you put an anchor there, and if you remain aware of the breath, that's the gateway for, or the portal for this unconscious mind to actually be brought into the conscious. So consistency and being continuous in your practice is what makes it successful. So Shila, there's a law of morality. There are 5 moral precepts that you have to take on that help you not to generate impurity. Do not misuse your sexuality or your sexual energy. Do not abuse words. So don't lie. Don't speak bad about others. Don't harm any others with words intentionally. Any harm that you can do with words, refrain from it. Don't take anything that wasn't given. So that means don't steal. And actually it means more than that. On the Buddhist path, people go around like beggars and really only take what is received, because then you cannot generate any craving towards it. Everything that comes to you is a gift and you're thankful for it. So don't kill any living beings. That's very clear. You need to have a lot of anger and resentment or fear inside of you in order to kill. So if you refrain from killing, then you must be confronted with the sensations that want to cause you to do it instead of doing it, which means that you will become conscious instead of remain unconscious in a pattern. So not kill any living beings. That doesn't mean only humans, but just really literally any living being. Don't kill it. What is the fifth one? Don't intoxicate your mind and body. So don't distract yourself, don't crave pleasant sensations and try to put them into yourself by using external substances. This is of no good for you, and it reinstalls the pattern that you want to get rid of. You want to become conscious. You don't want to remain in your misery of craving and aversion. So this morality, the Shila they call it, the 5 precepts, is the basis of your meditation practice. It's like the foundation that you need and the thing that will put you in the right direction. And it just heavily supports your meditation practice also. It's kind of hard to be meditative and to be attentive and to have this more sensitive awareness of your sensations when you are intoxicated or when you killed someone or when you're constantly craving orgasms. All these things are just very heavy distractions. So they're there for a reason, and if you stick to it, the meditation practice actually becomes a lot easier to apply. So there's 3 words, Shila, then one I can't remember, and then one is Panya. The one I can't remember in between is concentration, and that is what you generate by doing anapana. So the breath work where you focus only on the sensations on this part of the lip or just below the nostrils. And that is the necessary focus and discipline of the mind and control over the mind that you must create in order to go into this unconscious mind on the level of the body sensations and work there. Train is coming. Let me wait a bit. Are you getting impatient yet? So Shila, and Panya. Then at last, the way Guenka, Mr. Guenka, always ends his discourses is with the words Bhavatu Sabha Mangalam. And it means may all beings be happy, or may all beings experience true inner harmony. And the way you're supposed to end your Vipassana meditation is by doing metta. Spreading the merit of your practice and sharing the harmony that you receive, the purity through working on this, and sharing it with all the living beings and the invisible beings and just everything that exists. So May you all get liberated from all the misery and suffering that you have within yourself. May you all experience harmony, nirvanic peace, and liberation. Shambhu.